Saints in Africa, where sinners keep on trying. Ladies and gents, my name is Kaygee.
And my name is Nate.
Welcome to Saints in Africa.
Oh.
You're supposed to say where sinners keep on trying, man.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nate. He is our cams and ops guy with Simpiwe. But for today, he's the co-host. He's going to be the co-host for some time. And we do say shout out to Nia, aka Nia, who is actually our co-host. She's in Joburg. She has relocated to Joburg for work, but you still gonna see her. It's not like we scratched her out. We are at St. Eve Lodge and Spa, as you guys can see right here, for your manicures, massages, for your accommodation in Bloemfontein 21 York Street in Bayswater. When you are around Bloemfontein, please do contact them for your stay, for your massages, and also for your manicures and hairstyles and tonton gafel. They also have a jacuzzi. This is something that I didn't tell you guys. It's situated in 12 Reed Street, I think. But yeah, the contact details are in the description box.
Yes, and we also have Prime Apex travel and tourism agency. If you ever need to go anywhere, I guess across Southern Africa, you can just book a tour with them, and the rest is history. Like Kaygee said, you can get the contact details in the description. You will have them pasted there. Thank you.
Right. Not forgetting the Dotted Nose Company, where we prevent identity theft and embrace technology by upgrading our computer skills. We say thank you to them for sponsoring us with their equipment. This is the equipment, belongs to them. So should you need to hire or should you need to podcast, please do utilize the description box to check out the contact details. They don't only hire out or lease out equipment, but they also fix laptops and repair cell phones as well. So please do check them out. They also have a website, www.d.nose with DDD .co.za. They will be running auctions pretty soon when it comes to computer equipment and smartphones. So what have you been up to, Nate, thus far?
So far I haven't really been doing much. Life is a slow grind. We live and we try to make things kind of come together. However, I remember this past Saturday we had a hike in Seven Dams Conservancy, and that was really nice to kind of like take in the view and everything.
For me it's always therapeutic. It makes my heart smile to see Saints of the Summit Club hiking and doing adventure. Going out on an adventure. We did hike Tabanchu Mountain on the 21st of March, but this time around we hiked Seven Dams, like Nate said. And if you would like to join Saints of the Summit Club, do contact us on 068-154-8955. The contact details are in the description box in order for you to be added to the WhatsApp group of the hiking club, because what's coming next is fire. We're going to another place where it's going to be very nice. Braai, everything, Yonkinto will be there. So in terms of refreshments, we'll be serving refreshments, it's always therapeutic, ladies and gents.
And so One of the things that we actually would like to touch on for today has to do with this month's theme. I understand that it's Men's Mental Health Month, and to the brothers out there, we know that life isn't as difficult as life isn't as easy as we grow up thinking it could be. There are so many societal pressures that we face. There are so many expectations that men have to meet, and a whole lot of times we usually just keep to ourselves, right? I guess the way that many of us have been taught to do things, it can be like we are taught to be men, to be strong. Sometimes go to indoda ekhaya.
The African way, yeah.
It's an African way that we are taught, right? And one of the things that tradition does to shape us is through the men that we already have in our lives. It can be our parents, our fathers, our uncles. Right? We all have a certain set way that we think, that we use to think, right? And so my question is, what messages do African boys usually have or receive about crying or expressing vulnerability? And how is it that, why is it put in such a sense that it is made to seem as if that is what strength is? And can we even get strength from not showing emotion or not being vulnerable? I guess that's the question.
Like the question, what you're trying to say is why, in most cases, our African brothers and sisters, not sisters, sorry, our African brothers, why do our African brothers are mostly taught not to cry? Is that the question? Well, for me, I don't know really, but from my interactions with people of such nature, it's like they show Ukuti they are the man that they need to be. When they cry in front of a woman or when they cry in front of people, they are weak. That's how, in the African context, we are raised in most cases, so to speak. I may be wrong, but something I'm going to derail a bit, but I'll come back to your question. It might also answer the question. I loved what Sister Palesa Mangwe said during this recent hike. When we were gathered at 7 Dams, we gathered under a tree, and the whole perspective of hiking that conservancy was, it's 7 dams. It has seven dams, and some are dry while one is actually full. So when we got there, I told the club members to say, they represent God's tears. He cries as well. He weeps for us. It saddens him to see us derail from the actual path or the standards that he wished we could have lived by. But it doesn't erase the fact that he loves us equally as his children. But when you look at nature in itself, you get to realize, how can I put it, the growth that comes from the tears of God, meaning rain. Nature becomes beautiful. And such it is with our lives. We need to cry as human beings. We are human beings after all. We have emotions. I was on a TikTok live, I think it's been 3 weeks now. 3 weeks ago, if not 4 weeks ago, which is a month. I got to learn in that this lady was on a live on TikTok, and she was on this topic of uh, should men cry in front of women, and there was this guy that was adamant to say, men shouldn't cry even in front of a wife. We would like to hear what your say is on this topic. You can mention in the comment section if it is okay for men to cry. But there's this guy, I forgot his name. He hammered the fact that, when I say hammered, like he emphasized the fact that when men cry, it's not a sign of weakness, but it shows that they are human beings, and that he cries in front of his wife. And for me, yes, it's a healthy lifestyle to actually cry. So those are the thoughts that have been running in my mind right now. But coming back to Nate's question as to why are we taught, I believe why are we taught not to cry as African children, especially males. I believe in ancient times, the cultural aspect, before we got to learn of the Western ways, that was a sign of being a man. That was a sign of toughening up as a young man, or as an adult male. And man, I feel like they cried in their corners. Not that they didn't cry. Our fathers, I'm referring to our fathers and great grandfathers, they cried in their corners and toughened up in front of their woman. That's why at this time we are told not to do so, because it shows as if we are weak in front of women. And another pointer is it is often said that the woman get to use those weaknesses that we show to them to their advantages. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but that is one of the things that in the African ways we were taught not to do, being raised up. But for me, my parents didn't raise me that way, but I heard throughout the streets that it was that way. But what I am saying is, some women, not all, they use those tears to take advantage of the male. That's why we are taught not to actually
let it out.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, well, not even kind of, I actually like everything that you spoke about when you said that sometimes the men usually went into corners, their own corners, to cry it out. Right? There is an, how can I put this? There's an unhealthy way of dealing with certain types of pains that we experience, certain pressures that we get. And if we never get to process them, they actually affect how we live our lives, right? I can think of one of the examples that I took from another man is that he said that in order for us, not only as men but as families as well, to thrive, is that in as much as we each see that someone is actually doing well, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? We should be mindful of where they're actually standing mentally, where they're actually standing emotionally. Are there challenges that need to be addressed, right? A whole lot of times, men could complain about certain things but then never show emotion. And in other times, it actually affects the relationships that they end up having, especially with married couples. As a man, you're like, okay, mine is not to show any vulnerability. I will just do what I need to do. And, instead of crying out, sometimes we do have cases of gender-based violence, either from either side. But It is society usually makes it okay for women to express themselves more than men, and it's a bit unbalanced, right? And so, like, now it brings me to question, what does healthy masculinity look like in an African context? How can we continue to show emotion, but then also not be at a stage where we can, like, the desire is for us to reach a point where we can remain strong while still expressing emotion and not suppressing it. I know I said a lot, but
yeah, man. For me, from the knowledge that I have and the books that I've read, I've gotten to realize that women are emotional beings, whilst men are logical beings, and it's the balance comes when, I don't know how to put it, but I'm trying to make sense in my head so I can speak my mind. The balance comes when we get to understand each other, maybe for lack of better word. And the fact that Heavenly Father understands us more than we do, it's, hey, I don't know how to put this. Okay. Let me rather put it this way. So, men and women are two distinct beings. We are different. Males are logical, females are emotional. Now, bringing the two together, it's like a magnet that is like two magnets that don't want to get attached to each other, something like that. Now, when, for instance, a husband and a wife stays together, they got to understand each other through the relationships that they formed from the beginning, like dating and stuff. So what I'm saying is, through that process of the relationship, they get to understand each other, and now comes the part where they get to adapt towards each other's behaviors. Now, the man actually gets to learn how the female responds to how he behaves, and the very same way with the female. And when there's not contradictions, but controversy, I don't know the right word, between the two behaviors and the feelings towards each other, that's when things spike up inside a home. And for the mere fact that it spikes up, the husband normally, I don't know about the others, but they normally go back to say, okay, no man, let me go and cancel myself and come back. For the others, they react in a physical way, which forms GBV. So I feel like I'm saying things that are nonsensical, but in my mind, it's quite clear. It's just that I lack a better way to explain what's in my mind.
So it's kind of like when people have different way of dealing with tension between themselves.
Exactly.
And so kind of like different people have different ways that they deal with it. Others may need a quiet time alone. Others, they scream at each other until it stops making sense. Others, I guess you could say, they try to sit down and ration it. Right.
We are different people in terms of emotion, like our emotional state. Yeah. But can you repeat that question again?
Okay, the question that I have is, I guess let me start because I kind of asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's what.
How, so, what would healthy masculinity look like in an African context where we can still show emotion but not lose or not lose strength, right? Or the sight of strength or the perception of strength, like being
like living the culture, the African cultural way, but at the same time being able to be emotional. Yeah, the cultural way of that, what we spoke about. You need to toughen up as a man, but at the same time show emotion.
Yes.
I think in the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel of Jesus Christ is amazing. I'm just thinking about Jesus Christ himself as we speak. Was he an emotional being when he was on earth? Yes, of course. He was an emotional being because he reached out in love to each and every son and daughter of God, regardless of the circumstances that they found themselves in. But he lived his culture. He lived what he was supposed to live, like the manner in which he needed to act and behave whilst he was on earth. So we could actually extract some of the core and important aspects of his life within the gospel doctrine and apply it in our lives. That's why I say he was an emotional being, but he still lived the kind of way that he ought to live. I think it boils back to, if I am a Tswana, Tswana, by the way, is a culture in South Africa. If you are in Sierra Leone, it's like Mende. If you are in here, Afrikaners, we have different cultures. That's what I'm saying. So if I am a Tswana, which I am a Tswana, by the way, there are certain standards that I uphold culturally. So, but at the same time, I live the culture of Christ because I'm fully converted to his gospel. But that does not erase the fact that I'm an emotional being. I don't know if I'm answering your question. But yeah, it's simple. I wish I could go a bit more deeper with the aspect of Christ. Maybe, for instance, let's look at the woman who was caught in adultery. The Pharisees brought the woman to say, the law says this woman needs to be stoned. But in the book, we read that
well, Jesus Christ had some time to actually sit down. As he sat down, he actually started drawing things on the floor, and then that's when he sat down and he was like, well, he answered and he was like, let him that is without sin cast the first stone.
Exactly. But I'm pointing the fact that the Pharisees said something. They said this woman was caught in an act of adultery, and in the book of law we are told that such should be stoned. Yeah, what sayest thou? But I love the fact that Nate brought up Christ drawing on the floor. I've always wondered what Christ was doing or what he was drawing on the floor, because his finger was drawing, or the scriptures say he was writing something on the floor. But now that he mentioned it, this is my opinion. It's not in scripture. Maybe he was processing his emotions. He was processing the law. He knew the law, but he was taking time to actually think, how am I going to respond to this? Because remember, he came to experience the human life as much as he was, or he had the eternal attributes within him. He came to actually experience the human life. So for me, it's like he was processing to say, I am also an emotional being. I need to think like an emotional being right now. As much as I have these traits of my Father in heaven. And that's where he said, if any of you do not have sin, let him first cast a stone, and they dispersed. You understand? So he lived, that's why I'm saying he lived his culture, he lived what he taught, but still he was an emotional being. I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah, I guess relating to exactly what you said, it's kind of like sometimes when we are met with a very difficult choice. First of all, understanding the way things should work, right? According to the law, if someone is caught doing something wrong, definitely they have to be stoned, and that's it, right? However, Jesus Christ, as he sat down and thought about it, right, he understood that, okay, well, the law that was given by God from Moses, no, to Moses by God was that such should be dealt with. However, Jesus Christ, he understood that it wouldn't be fair for someone to be taken up by the emotion just because you found out something about someone that they weren't supposed to do. Now you're like the first to act and be like, okay, this is what you deserve. As he sat and reflected and not bending under the pressure, he was able to help each and every other single person realize that, he has a point. We've done wrong some way. Maybe we haven't taken the steps to repent. Everyone is flawed, but then it's how we now choose to act. I mean, it could sometimes be, when I think about it, like when we sit in front of family now, and let's say, for instance, something happened in the home, and now you have to come to terms with, I don't want to say consequences, like you now have to express the way you felt. I can think of things such as alcoholism, or maybe having left home. Let's say, for instance, the brother felt that I need to go clear my head. There are so many things that people can do to clear their head, to try to run away from the problem, but we all know that there are some things that never fix the problem. And then when the person comes back home, now they're met with a ton of questions that take them back to where they started. And so as we sit and think about it, I think it's important for us to try to remember that as imperfect as we are, we actually need to give each other the space to hear one another out, right? Jesus Christ, even though he was met with a tough question, there was a brief pause between his answer, right? I think it's also important that we all afford each other that space to sit down and explain ourselves without preparing an answer. Exactly. Even if you might have that stone in your hand ready, right? Just listen to the other person. And then that's when you can then make your judgment based off of whatever it is that they say. And the scriptures teach us to judge righteously, right? And not just judge one another out of, we shouldn't judge each other unrighteously, because it's only then after we act that we usually come to regret the things that we do. And in terms of regrets, we do know that there can be other consequences, such as people taking their lives, for instance, or maybe there are a whole lot of repercussions. However, most of them could be avoided just by giving each other the space or the time to hear one another out. Even if the person hasn't exactly figured out what it is that they're dealing with. And I guess if we learn to give each other the space, it's only then when people can now realize and learn to process whatever it is that they're going through, and then find or learn to put it out there. And then most of the challenges that we face concerning mental health, I believe, should what's the right word? Like, we wouldn't need to suffer so much, I guess.
Yeah. Let's bring it home for a bit. When I say home, I'm referring to the mental issues that men or males deal with before we conclude. We are pressured as men, and just like many other influencers, lady influencers on TikTok, on all social media platforms, were saying, this is our month, and there is less of what's the right word? I don't want to say activists, or less of, not protests, but awareness. There are less awareness. There is a less number of awareness regarding men's mental health, since it's their month this month. Since it's our month, not their month. Yeah, since it's our month. But when ladies pitch up to say no against GBV or this, that's when we start chipping in to say, even men this, even men that. Now it's the time to cry out and say, this is what I am facing. This is something that I need to overcome as a man. And I'm going to say it in front of the cameras to say, it's okay to cry as a man. It's okay to be vulnerable to your brothers. If you're comfortable with your brothers, be vulnerable to them, to your friends, to your wives, to your sisters, to your mother. Even if they call you mama's baby, it's fine. It's okay to cry. You are an emotional being. Sometimes our secrets fester in our souls, and when they do, trust me, they turn into behavior, and that's where GBV and all other issues stem from. You respond physically instead of mentally. I don't think I said what Sister Palesa said during the hike at 7 Dams. She said our kidneys and most of our organs inside, from our chests going down, we tend to care more of them than our mental state. And then she said our brains are also organs, and it's okay to go to a mental institution if you're suffering from depression. If they diagnose you with depression and you need to take medication, it's an organ. It's an organ. It needs to be treated just like a kidney, just like your heart, just like your liver, and any other part of the body. It needs to be treated. It's an organ. She emphasized it's an organ. So I'm going to say that to you guys as well, as our brothers. You know, one thing, Nate, I must say, especially in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, men, especially in our stake, I don't know about other stakes, we don't hold male activities like before. And you can see as you're looking around the brothers and the sisters that we are suffering in silence, and that breaks us. And hence we did Saints of the Summit as part of Saints in Africa podcast, to remind you, our dear brothers, to say you need a break from life. It's school, it's work, you're taking care of children. Others are coming from mission, like Nate, stressing about how to figure out this whole life thing. And like there are many things that are on your shoulders as males. It's okay to take a break. For the ladies that are watching this, I'm saying to you, please do take care of your husbands. Please do take care of your brothers and your sisters, not your sisters, but your younger brothers and your older brothers. We love you, sisters, but this is for men to say, please do cry, men. It's okay to cry. And when you cry, healing starts to begin within you. So, yeah, man, there's quite a lot that we can cover on this topic of mental health, especially for the men. But the time is quite short. I don't know if you have any other thing, man.
Well, there was something that you touched on, especially in the church, right? We all have responsibilities. We are assigned to minister to one another. Ministering is one of those things that, especially the leaders of the church, have emphasized that we need to do our ministering. We are all assigned to be accountable for one another, both for brothers and sisters. And I guess, depending on whichever quorum you are, there will definitely be someone of the same gender that you are assigned to minister to. And most of the time, as brothers, we usually just check each other out on a Sunday and just be like, hey, how are you? Glad to see you at church today. And then as soon as we exit the chapel grounds, it's like, that's it. I've seen my brother. He's at church. He's alive. Didn't even care to call in through the week. Hey, how are you doing? Let me invite you to my house to watch the World Cup or something, just so that we can establish that that brotherhood relationship. We shouldn't just be brothers at church. Yeah.
Sorry to barge in, but what do you think? What actually brings this up? Like, what's the cause of us not connecting as brothers? Maybe you also can mention, but what is it that causes this, especially in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? I mean, yeah.
Well, I guess I could say, for my personal experience or my standpoint, I could say sometimes the duties that we are given, just because there's already so much going on in life, we usually tend to put them aside. We have our own personal priority list, right? And even in this personal priority list, it can be things that aren't so important. Yes, sometimes we might feel like, okay, there's only so much that I could do. Yes, I go to church, maybe I prepare my lessons, I take care of my family, both physically and spiritually, but then I usually don't have time for other people. Maybe I'll find time to do it later on. We usually postpone things that should be done or given equal attention. Similar to how we attend church. Most of the time people only go to church when it's Sunday or Saturday, for those who attend on Saturdays. But the priority now comes with, no, not the priority. The point now comes with living this gospel. Are you only a saint on a Sunday, or are you a saint throughout the week? And if you so call yourself a saint, are you taking the necessary actions to show that you are a saint? Right? Things as simple as ministering could really go a long way for brothers. Things such as just, even if it's not ministering, maybe inviting someone to an activity, just like we have what's this, Saints of the Summit, something to get people to detach from routine life, right? To detach from things that have become mundane. We still understand how important they are, but then, like, we all sometimes need a space to go back and be like, okay, I am human, there's so much good that we can experience in life, right? Let's challenge ourselves physically, run, let's sit together and laugh and talk about things that stress me at work, even if the next person wouldn't have answers, but then at least I would have let certain things off my chest, right?
Exactly.
Let me we should sometimes find those opportunities, or learn to recognize opportunities that, hey, my schedule is not too busy this coming week. Let me see if I can reach out to so and so, see how they're doing, right? Because that would really go a long way, because people usually think for themselves. However, sometimes we have to learn to think outward, right? Just like Jesus Christ did. He didn't always, not even always, he hardly ever had times where he wanted things to be done for him, right? Except most of the time he always wanted to give and to I guess that's what the gospel is about. The two great commandments teach us that we should love God with all our heart, might, and strength. And the second great commandment is to love one another as we love ourselves, right? And if we do intend to learn to love ourselves, we first have to learn how to love others. That's how it's been for me. A way that I felt that a way that I found out that I felt more appreciated was if I took the initiative to do something good for someone else. And in return, when I did that, depending on their response, whether it be good or bad, right? Most of the time good. If I did something good for someone else, I would actually feel like, hey, I'd give myself a pat on the back and be like, I'm glad I did this. Even if there is no reward, helping someone usually helps me feel good about myself, and it inspires me and prompts me to do more, right? And so I think that's one place that we could start, learning to identify what makes us feel good about who we are, and help others also feel good about themselves as well. I guess that could be a start point, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nate. Ladies and gents, we appreciate you guys for watching our episode. Please do remember to subscribe to our channel. This is definitely where sinners keep on trying. We're trying to become better versions of ourselves. No one is perfect in this lifetime. And please do also spread the love to our brothers and sisters, so they know that we have such a platform. Again, I'm going to say this. Saints of the Summit Club, where souls rise and mountains fall. If you want to join that club, the number is 068 154 8955. You would also see it in the description box. And it's therapy for us. It's therapy. In closing, when I climbed the Tabanchu mountain, I don't want to lie, I was facing something that had heavy weight on my shoulders and on my heart. But when I climbed that mountain, I forgot about everything. that had weight upon my shoulders. Even I think Khositile Moholo did iterate the very same words to say he forgot about what he had or the challenges that he had. But when he went down, they came back. But as I went down, we got solutions to those problems. There's a lady that commented on my personal account, Becoming Kaygee account. She said, I posted the recent 7 dams. She said, sacred spaces. And then I said, holier connections. Sacred spaces, holier connections. Those are mountains. That is why we climb those mountains. That is why we have this adventure club, because in sacred spaces we have holier connections, and we do have or we do get answers to our prayers. Hence, when you see the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the building itself, you'll find it on a mountain. When you look at the temples that are being built by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they are on mountains. So mountains are sacred spaces where God actually connects with us. I'm not saying down here we don't feel him, but those are sacred spaces with holier connections. So join us on Saints of the Summit Club. We do connect with each other. We find solutions. If there's any mental state that you are in at the current moment, you can also comment in the comment section. We'll pray on your behalf. And any other comments that you wish to comment, we would appreciate them in the description box. Ladies and gents, this is Saints in Africa podcast, where sinners keep on trying. Over and out.